Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50. Today's topic is the green and the red numbers.
Thanks, Dallas. So there's only two types of important numbers once you've retired, and it's the green number and the red number. So the green number, so after insisting that your money gets dressed and goes to work for you, after insisting that...
We should have a drinking game for the Money Over 50 where people have a shot every time Michael says his money gets dressed and goes to work.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. There'll be a lot of different episodes. People, depending on when they're listening, could be unhealthy for them. So basically what I'm talking about here is that imagine you retire with a sum of money, and the money that money makes every year, I think of as a green number. It's a number that is good. It's for you. Done correctly, that green number is tax-free after you've retired. So what I'm talking about here is an example. If you've accumulated $2 million, let's assume it's between a couple, $1 million each in superannuation, and you receive an 8% average rate of return, the green number adds up to $160,000 in that first year of your retirement. So before you've taken any income, what is your money made? $2 million at an assumed 8% rate of return is your money making money of $160,000. Think of that $160,000 as the interest. It's the return. Yep. There's no interest paying account that pays that much, as far as I'm aware.
And if there is, I've got a bridge to tell you.
But it's effectively, think of it like it's adding to the balance, like a term deposit would. It's the interest that's adding to the balance, the rate of return. Like I said, done correctly after you've retired and you're aged over 60, generally, that green number is tax-free. So the first nice thing about that is that $160,000 is there's no tax to be levied on that if it's done correctly. The red number. So the red number is the amount of income that you spend. Think of that as the amount that you take from the green number. So done correctly, this is also tax-free. So if I take $100,000 from my money to live and I don't pay any tax, it's actually as if I'm getting paid a before tax salary of $140,000. So I have some money, my retirement savings, it's $2 million in this example. I get an 8% assumed rate of return, tax free. It's $160,000 is the green number. That's my interest. I take $100,000 from that, which is the red number. I'm taking that out of superannuation to live off. Look, it's as if I'm getting paid a before tax salary of $140,000 because while I'm working, I earn $140,000. I lose $40,000 in tax, and I only live off $100,000. So it does adhere to a law. It's called Hogue's Law of Growing One's Capital into Perpetuity.
When you say a law you just invented right now on the spot.
Hogue's Law of Growing One's Capital into Perpetuity is the red number should be less than the green number. Podcast is now over.
That's it.
No, there's more to talk about, but effectively, I go back to there's only two types of important numbers once you've retired. Is the green number? How much does my money make each year? So think of that as your accumulated retirement savings, getting dressed and going to work for you. How much does that generate? And like we said, our aim for our high growth clients is an 8% average rate of return net of taxes and fees that they pay us. So it's not guaranteed, of course, but it's a desired rate of return. If we achieve that rate of return with a $2 million balance, that's $160,000 a year of green number. That could allow us to quite easily take $100,000
Yep.
The red number, we're taking $100,000 and spending it from $160,000. We therefore get to reinvest $60,000 in that first year.
Right. I've got only 3 brief points to add to this, because I think you've hit on a very important point here, which is that there's a huge amount of complexity behind the scenes. But this is actually all that matters. Once I'm at retirement, once I am not adding anything to my retirement savings from my own exertions, when I have no other source of income to live on, is my money making more money than I'm spending each year, or is it not? That's it. Is the green number more than the red number? So, a couple of points here, and you've touched on it a couple of times. Makes each year. As you said, it's not a nice, neat thing. It's not a consistent 8% rate of return. To get that sort of return, there's a significant amount of volatility. You have to allow for sequence of returns risk. You have to allow for all these different bits and pieces, all the rest of it, blah, 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 blah. The point I would want to touch on there is that don't get hung up on the details, because your options are, you either invest in assets that get around an 8% rate of return, and whether it's actually 10 or whether it's actually 6 or whether it's negative 30 this year or positive 20 next year, forget about the volatility, forget about whether it is exactly 8% over the next 20 years. Your options are either invest in assets that receive somewhere like that, or invest in assets that get you 3% or 2% as a rate of return. Now, as you can see, if you invest in assets that only get you a 2 or 3% interest return, that is not a lot of green. There is no, without having a huge nest egg, you are not going to have enough of a capital base for that small amount of green to be less than what you can live on. The same thing applies to that red number. Don't get hung up on whether you actually need 100 or whether you need 110, whether you need 90. It's you look at it and go, where am I on track to be? What is actually an achievable rate of return based on what I'm trying to get? What assets am I invested in? What am I trying to get this money to do for me? Do I have a margin of safety between those two? Is the return that I'm getting on average going to be a little bit, a bit more than what I think I actually need each year, so that I can allow for those volatile years and the sequence of returns risk and, a period of below average and all those sorts of things? It's a problem to be solved, and it's a question that needs to be answered. You don't get to answer the question by just going, well, actually, I might not get 8, I might get 7. Forget about the details. Don't stress too much about that. The phrase that just jumped into my mind as you're talking about this is that if you don't do this right, it's a matter of time. And what I mean by that is if, as you just said there, if that green number is consistently more than that red number, your capital will grow into perpetuity. You will never run out of money, which is what everyone's worried about in retirement. Don't want to run out of money. Okay, you need that green number to be more than the red number. If the red number is consistently more than the green number, you are going to run out of money, and it is only a matter of time. Now, it might be 35 years, and you might go, it's okay, I won't be alive then. That's a decision that you need to make, but you need to accept that if my red number is more than my green number, at some stage here, I am going to run out of money.
Yeah, that's correct. So that's the way to think of it. Yeah. So you really need to be making decisions. Again, you can't look forward and guarantee an 8% rate of return.
Yep.
All we can do is look back at historical perspective and say, look, what has given us returns in that range over consistent periods of time in the past. I think we've spoken enough about that during this podcast.
Except we're going to bang on about it more in future. So be ready for
the
that.
Listeners will would understand what we're talking about there. It's a matter of getting this correct. I mean, if you can get this correct, it really hums. So imagine this: you retired with $2 million. You've funded everything. We've put you in the position where that money has ended up perfectly where it needs to be. It's converted into a 0% taxed superannuation income stream. The person's over 60, or this couple's over 60, so they're going to live off the income that throws. conceivably they've paid the last of tax that they ever pay ever again, both internally in their retirement savings and externally. They're taking $100,000 from $160,000. The red number is $100,000. The green number is $160,000 in the first year. They're therefore reinvesting $60,000 back in. That allows them to index their income up. The red number can be $103,000 the next year. Yep. It takes 14 years. Over the next 14 years, that $2 million that they started their retirement with actually grows to $3 million. Mm-hmm. And over that period of time, the $100,000 of income that they were taking, that red number in the first year, has been indexed up to $146,000 in the 14th year. So they're by the 14th year of their retirement, they're now taking $146,000. The total income that they've taken is therefore $1.7 million. People are blown away when we look at that and show that on a spreadsheet. You retire with $2 million, you don't work another day of in your whole life. Your money gets stressed and goes to work with you. You take less than what it returns. That $2 million turns into $3 million over a 14-year period in which you've actually taken $1.7 million of total income. Yeah, people are blown away by that.
It's a
the other important number is the total amount of tax paid to the taxman is $0 if done correctly.
It's funny. I just had another thought about this. If you boil down like our job and our clients in retirement, they are either in two categories, and that's really all it comes down to is either the green number is more than the red number, or the red number is more than the green number. For people where the green number is more than the red number, this just throws up easy questions and easy problems again and again and again down the track where they're going. In this example, these easy problems, these good problems, people are going, my income that I have to draw out of my income stream, it's too high. I can't spend that every year in future. And then they're getting down the track and going, well, geez, they've built up so much. Should we be giving some money to charity or giving some money to our kids? What should we do with all this spare money? Yeah. It throws up easy problem. I've got too much money that I just can pay cash for a nursing home that I'm moving into or not. Gee, what should I do here? It just throws up consistently these really easy problems. But if your red number is consistently more than your green number, that throws up hard problem after hard problem after hard problem. And so maybe it's sheer laziness from us, but I much prefer to solve easy problems and hard problems. And so this is the point where we're trying to get our clients to, is to get to the point where the green number is more than the red number. There's still things that need to be done. There's still problems to manage. There's still questions to solve, but that is a lot easier. That is a much more fun conversation to be having with people than the problem of, my red's more than my green. I'm running out of money. What are we going to do?
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. For more information and resources, visit the Money Over 50 website, mo50.com.au. We look forward to catching up again soon.